From the shores of Malibu, where the waves are pumping, to the Great Wall of China, and back to the streets of New York City, where the UFC is coming. We are live. This is It's Time Radio, the show where we talk about what you think about, but be afraid to voice. Do not worry. We will voice it for you. We talk about everything on It's Time. It's No Holds Barred Radio, folks. And I'm here with my co-host, my producer, TJ Santis. TJ, how are you?
I'm good, Bruce. How are you?
I'm good. I'm much better than I was last week, and definitely much better than I was 2 weeks ago. But, I want to have the show with you by ourselves today. I could have guests on, but honestly, there's UFC events happening here, a huge event on Saturday. I think we ought to break it down, talk about that. We'll go over some stories in the news. I just want to let everybody know that after I broke the news about COVID last week on the show, Dana, I was keeping it quiet except for the show. And Dana let out at the press conference that I wasn't there in Abu Dhabi because of COVID, which immediately got coverage everywhere from Yahoo Sports to Sports Illustrated to Barstool Sport, you name it. And, the story got out, which I really appreciate all the love and all the reactions I got, the thousands of messages and texts and everything. And it's nice to be loved, TJ. It's nice to be loved. It's nice to have people send me best wishes. And I just want to take this moment to thank everybody for your kind wishes and your concern. I'm certainly not the only one getting COVID in this world. It seems like it's hitting a lot of people in the news as far as celebrity factor or whatever, which again, I hate that word, but Jason Momoa has it. Bon Jovi's got it. I will tell you one thing, TJ, that locally it's been quiet in the schools, but Kristen's noticing now it's picking up in the schools again. Kids are getting COVID at school.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it. We talked about this with Dr. Davidson probably almost a year ago at this point, where he said it's just not going to go away. There's going to be ups and downs and ebbs and flows and new variants and all of that stuff. And as you know firsthand, doesn't necessarily mean anything if you're vaccinated either. You just still got to go out there and be as careful as you can. And, it is what it is.
No, you got to. But I will tell you that, one thing I think people experience off this, like for instance, it was Halloween this weekend, right?
Right.
So my friend Kitty had a comedy night at her Undisputed Fight Academy dojo where everybody was distanced and, air purifiers working and mask optional, whatever. But, they had a nice show, maybe 20 people, whatever. So I went and had a great time. And then I went to a little costume affair at a local house here in the backyard. Again, like 20 people, separated, distance, had a nice time. But, you feel guilty after that. It's like you feel weird. Does that make sense at all?
No, for sure. Because you didn't do anything wrong. It's not taboo. But at the same time, that these are little spoiled things in life that you don't necessarily have to do. You don't really need to do them, but you want to do them. And here's the real key to it all, Bruce. You do need those things, because if you don't have those things in your life, you go nuts. I mean, there are a lot of people that have been in lockdown for, well over a year at this point that really haven't left at all, that are, immunocompromised people. I would love to know how they're doing mentally, because I don't think it's that great. I think the mental toll of being isolated is a lot harder than dealing with some of the physical risks that you have by going out. And I can see why you sort of feel guilty or wrong going out, because technically, do you have to do it? Should you do it? Maybe not, maybe, but I know, Bruce, for a fact, if you don't do it at some point, you're going to have breakdowns. It's as simple as that.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. And when you say breakdowns, it's not like I was going to break down or anything.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's mentally, we're social creatures.
I'm hearing more stories, parents with their kids about depression. And just had a friend of mine, a very, very good friend of mine, his close friend, just committed suicide last night.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I mean, whether it was COVID related or not, but people are going through heavy stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean,
we talk about it on the show all the time.
Right.
The pandemic and being home and not being social. But when you got to be social, you got to be smart.
Well, do you remember all the domestic issues that came up at the first half of the pandemic, where, men and women, and I shouldn't limit it to men and women, just people that were in relationships that were forced to be around their partners, for prolonged periods of time because, they weren't getting out of the house. They found out where they were and where they maybe weren't with their relationships. You know what I mean? And it's tough. Everything plays a factor on our, mental health and our home lives.
There's pluses and minuses to both situations. Being single like I am, as far as living by myself the way I do, even with friends, I get friends over every night.
Come on now. Being single means you have more people in your house than if you were in a relationship. I think that's what that means.
Pre-COVID, yes.
And I don't even mean like, multiple partners. I'm saying,
I know what you mean.
I'm just saying like when you're a single guy, you tend to have friends over, like I've lived in my house now for well over a year and I haven't had anybody over to it.
As the saying goes, stay single, your pockets will jingle. During the pandemic is another issue.
I disagree with that. Stay single and your pockets will jingle. No, I mean,
my brother Brian always jokes about that, but again, that's up for a question.
I mean, you're going out there and you're doing things. I mean, I never saved more money than when I stopped dating, to be honest with you.
Oh, I think it's just a question, again, off subject of if you wind up, God forbid, in a divorce. That's what it means. Stay single.
Oh, you see, I never thought that grim.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's a bad.
Right.
Joke.
I mean, I'll listen to the guy who has been almost divorced twice but never married.
Yeah, there you go. Who's that? Oh,
that's wow. You. That's you. That's you, Buff.
Well, you know what? I don't want to dwell too much on the COVID thing because I want to stay positive with our, show today. But I'm going to share with you right now. It's like, I often wonder, as safe as I am, as safe as I was, because I'm at these events and because the whole thing about armor of vaccination, it doesn't prevent you from getting it. It just prevents you from, winding up in the hospital.
Right. Not as getting it as bad as they say. I don't even know if that's necessarily true at this point because we've heard plenty of stories.
It depends on the individual. I mean, I do feel that the vaccination definitively helped me. Who knows what it would have been like considering what I went through those first 4 or 5 days.
I still think it has a lot to do with our genetic makeup. I think that some people are more susceptible to worse case than, others. And knock on wood that you're not one of those people, whether or not it's the vaccine that got you through it or just your overall way that you've taken care of your body. I mean, that is all up for debate, but I'm sorry. Like it's hard for me to not think that your body isn't more prepared for it, having battled it to a much lesser degree by being vaccinated.
I agree. All of the above apply. All of the above apply. Bottom line is I got through it.
How bad was it? Be honest with me.
Oh, the first 4 days was horrible.
Really bad. Like give me a 1 to 10 rating. And don't be like macho about it.
No. I mean, I have a high pain threshold, but my whole body, it's like fluish, my whole body.
So it was the flu. Was it the worst flu you'd ever had?
I hadn't had the flu. I haven't had the flu in years.
Right.
So all I know is, every time.
Have you ever had the flu? Like honestly, like been
years ago,
like tested and test positive for influenza?
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah, because I've only had it one time, and I thought I was dying, Bruce. Like I legit thought that I was dying. I had to lay on my basement floor in Minnesota, like basically with all my clothes off to try to get my temperature to break.
Well, the temperature luckily didn't get above like 102.7 or so.
That's still people under okay, let's just call it 103. That's still a pretty bad fever.
Yeah, it was. I actually did a UFC one time with like 103 plus fever.
See, that's the other thing too. My friend Tom, who listens to the podcast, was talking to me about this, and he said, "So it must have been pretty bad for Bruce to not go." And I said, I don't know how bad it was for Bruce, but I would tell you that if it weren't a pandemic and he weren't worried about getting other people sick, he'd be there. I think you would have been there. I think if it was up to you and it wasn't about the safety of others, you would have gone to work.
That's a variable in the decision-making process. But the other thing is that I didn't want to hold up the UFC.
Right.
I felt so bad those first 4 or 5 days thinking, how am I going to get on a plane in another 5 days? Or 6 days.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to hold the UFC up. It's like, what if I couldn't get on and they didn't have a backup? They didn't make an arrangement like they made with Joe to go. There's not fair to hold up a
right. Well, it's not like they can just throw Joe on a plane and get him there in 2 hours either. It's not just a trip to Vegas. It's, across the world. No,
and thank you, Joe, for stepping in as you always have, whether you're scheduled for it or whether you're filling it for me. But this is the first show I've ever turned down. Do you know how hard it is for me to do that?
Right. Yeah.
Cal Ripken streak is over. It's just but that's okay.
Well, you got to set the bar somewhere, Buffer. You got to let someone else, maybe even yourself, break it. I don't know if you can go another 20 some odd years at this point, but I
don't know about another 20 some odd years, but easily another 10. But the other part of the equation, why I chose not to go and why it was best is I wanted to rest my body. I wanted to be 100%.
Do you feel 100%? Do you feel like restored?
I feel like 90 plus.
Okay, well, that's good because, we've talked about this in the past. People that we know that are great athletes and phenomenal caretakers of their bodies, it takes a long time for them to start to feel 100%. So the fact that you're in the 90s, that's good.
TJ, the good thing was it didn't get in my lungs, knock on wood.
Right.
It got in, but it didn't get bad.
Right.
And
You never had any sort of like panic about your ability to breathe or anything?
I got a little worried at one point when I was feeling congestion building up in my chest, wondering where it's going to go, because I've experienced, like an example with my mom, where, it started here and all of a sudden she's getting carted off to the hospital that night for
Right.
pneumonia. So you never know how fast it can react, no matter how old you are. And with all the horror stories out there, sure, the thought sets in. All I could do was do everything I could to take care of myself. No, I never thought I was on verge of going to the hospital. I was just dealing with it and quarantining myself for safety. But another reason is too, you continue to test positive potentially after the 10, 14-day quarantine period.
Right.
When your contagion stops, if you're not having symptoms.
Yeah. Have you tested clean yet?
Yeah, I tested clean 2-3 days ago, but I tested positive after my 14-day quarantine.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Now, what if I'm in, you gotta show the airlines your test. What if I'm in Abu Dhabi that has rules of their own over there?
You don't have to show the airline.
International flight.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So that's what's funny. I've only gone to Mexico internationally, and I've never been worried about giving them the test, but I've flown out of Tijuana a couple times, and when I cross the border by land, you don't have to give them anything. It's only by air.
Right. But the other thing is too, is that, yeah, I would have been protected. And, Dana White was so cool. He was texting me, anything you need, we're here for you.
Right.
I thank you, Dana. Thank you, everybody at UFC. And again, thank you for everybody for your care and best wishes to me. But listen, if an authority says, hey, we just see you're testing positive, we're not going to let you leave. I couldn't take that chance.
No, of course not.
But that's not the key reason. The key reason was, out of courtesy and care to the UFC and the multi-million dollars it takes to put on a production like this, they needed to have somebody there that was set, no problem, ready to go. So I had to opt out. I lost, a lot of money over this period. That's not my concern. My concern is my health and the people around me.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, now I'm going back out into it again, whether it's a Raider game, UFC. I'm glad in New York, they're going to make everybody wear their masks. I'm still COVID safe proper. I don't want to get this again.
Right. Well, right now, I mean, again, you can never, be completely carefree, but you're more immune to it than ever.
Yeah, but then the other question is, and I can't answer this because I don't know. I want to find out, can I come up against somebody who's positive, whether they're asymptomatic or not? It rubs into my system. Am I contagious to others around me?
That's a great question.
Whether my immunity is through the roof or not.
I would think that you can't carry it like that because it needs to survive. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't think you could carry a contagious strain of it in your body if you have the antibodies to not let it affect yourself. But that doesn't mean that you can't carry it. So I don't know. I don't know, Bruce.
Well, these are questions that I will get answered. But let's go ahead and let's get off COVID. We all know what we have to do here. Again, everybody, please stay safe. As like I say, anybody can get it. And I hate saying this, but if I can get it, you can get it. As careful as I was. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say. Okay. On the positive side, it was Halloween. I hope you all had a great Halloween. We got Thanksgiving coming up. We got the holidays coming up. So let's just look forward to celebrating and enjoying life together, as we will in its time leading up to that. UFC 267 was last week. Holy heck, Glover Teixeira. Oh my gosh, if that's
unbelievable,
not an example,
right?
Oh my, yeah, well, believable yet unbelievable.
No, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's believable, but yeah, you're right. It's one of the best stories that I can recall in UFC history, as far as someone that has paid their dues, fought for a title, come up short, stuck with it. I mean, honestly, if you would have told me that Glover Teixeira would have been a UFC light heavyweight champion for the first time in 2021, just 5-10 years ago, I would have banked my mortgage on that not being the case. I
agree with you. The other thing is too, is that it's really not even Randy Couture-ish. Randy Couture was a three-time?
So probably like a 3-time heavyweight champion, a 2-time UFC light heavyweight champion.
Yeah, I mean, I think he held 3 titles, whether it's heavyweight or light heavyweight.
It's more than that.
It's more than that, but he was holding the titles. Glover's been working for 20 some years to get to the title.
Yeah. I think Randy was the oldest champion in UFC history at 43.
44.
44. Okay, 44. So he's got a couple years on Glover, But again, like you said, Bruce, like I hate to take anything away from Randy because I'm not trying to do that. But like you said, he carried those belts over a long period of time, and he won them, he lost them, won them. Glover, I mean, I don't know many people that were still going to ride this bandwagon that Glover Teixeira is going to be a future UFC champion just even a year ago.
It's a magnificent achievement, a perfect game plan against the, amazingly brutal, devastating, Jan Blachowicz. I mean,
and Blachowicz, he tapped so quick, Bruce, which tells you that.
Well, look how deep that was sunk.
That's what I'm saying. Like you cannot mess around with Glover Teixeira. Like,
no.
And the thing that is amazing about him, and I was happy to see it in this fight, he didn't take a ton of punishment from Jan where he did in some of his other fights, and. So that shows me that maybe Glover's here for a while. Maybe he's not going to necessarily run into the same sort of trouble time and time again, and someone's going to take this belt off of him right away. And it sounds like he wants to get back to it pretty quickly.
Yeah, he does. But, he's a warrior. There's no question. And, it's great to see, the great John Hackelman, and after years of training Glover, I'm sure he was just happy as happy can be.
Did you see the reaction of Chuck?
Chuck Liddell. Yeah, Chuck Liddell, his training partner and team member, going crazy over it. I love seeing that.
I mean, they kind of avoided a sort of, quandary because Glover was probably ready to fight for a UFC title when Chuck Liddell was a champion, but Glover couldn't get into the UFC due to visa issues. So it would have been really interesting had Glover been active in the UFC's light heavyweight division when Chuck was the champion, because Glover was going to run roughshod through a lot of those contenders. It's kind of maybe a good thing that they avoided that altogether.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You're absolutely right about that. Going on to some other fights here. And again, congratulations, Glover. I've known Glover for years. He's a great guy.
Yeah, no, he's one of those dudes that you feel like definitely deserve it.
Yeah, deserve it. And, there's just so many great people, men and women, in mixed martial arts. It's just such an honor to know.
It's hard not to feel good about certain stories, overcoming others. No disrespect to Blachowicz, but Glover Teixeira, he's one of the good guys, always super kind and polite to everybody, whether it's fans, media, UFC staffers like yourself. The fact that he got his hand raised, you're not going to find too many people upset with that.
No, just very courteous and everything. I can name maybe 3 or 4, want to call it a-holes, or people that weren't like, what I would consider role models in my 25 plus years of being in the UFC, and their names will go unsaid. But at the same time, it's like 3 or 4 people out of the thousands of fighters that I've announced.
But at this point too, though, with Glover, it's now or never. If he came up short against Jan, it's possible that we never see him fight again, because the idea of him battling back to a title fight, very difficult. So you smile. It's
not a Rocky story. It's a success story.
Yep.
And it's awesome. Then you have Corey Sandhagen and Jan going at it, and hell of a fight, but Jan's just proving. I mean, this guy is just unreal.
Yeah, Piotr Jan is, no offense to Aljamain Sterling, who still is, the champion. He he won it the way he did. It's unfortunate the way he won it, but Peter Yan, I said this all last week, like he's the interim champion, but you can't tell me that he might not be or isn't the best 135 pounder on the planet.
He's there, and he's proving it, and I can't wait to see him and Aljamain go at it in February, whatever the guesstimate is, which will probably be, as I'm sure, his next bout is the unification for the undisputed title.
It depends on Aljo, because he's going through some neck problems and issues and rehab. Like, I don't want to see Aljamain take that fight a second too early. You know what I mean? He's got to take that fight when he's ready. That's the one thing that is sort of a blessing here with Jan being the interim champion, is the division is going to go on no matter what. If Aljo's not ready, even if they strip Aljo, he's going to fight Jan in his next fight. He has to. I don't see a world where Aljamain Sterling comes back and doesn't fight Peter Yan right away.
Knowing Aljamain the way I know him, being the type of individual he is, because I really like Aljo a lot. I don't think he'd be, sure, he loves the belt and everything. He has it, but, he wants to fight he wants to get back against Jan. He wants to get in there and get an undisputed title.
As much as the people say that it was a BS way to win the belt, that wasn't Aljamain Sterling's fault. What is Aljamain Sterling supposed to do? No, I don't want your belt. I'm going to vacate it. No, that's not what you do. It's business.
Rules are rules.
Yeah, and, they've got unfinished business, and they'll settle that as soon as they can.
And we'll all be watching. And then you go back. Dan Hooker in there, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after he last fought.
Yeah.
Makhachev he's a beast. He's a beast. But getting back to beast, let's talk about the beast of the night. Okay. If anybody made Ling Jingliang look like a rag doll, tossing him, aside from purposely even carrying him over to Dana the way he did in the constant vocal.
Can you believe that?
Unbelievable. This Chimaev is scary. Okay.
Yeah.
He's scary.
Yeah.
I think he's probably right now the scariest fighter in mixed martial arts.
He might be. I mean,
he might be.
When
I say that, you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
You know, they're all scary. But
right,
you know what I mean by that.
He's got momentum.
Dominant.
Yeah.
He's been hit 4 times in 4 fights. 4 times in 4 fights. If I heard that correctly.
I don't know. I mean,
that's what they were talking about. Like one strike thrown at him in 4 fights, each fight for 4 fights. If I heard that correctly.
Yeah.
This guy's style is devastating.
I mean, you might want to call him a freeway because he is, one-way traffic. He's just going 100 miles an hour and doing his own thing, and you can't really cross him because he'll run right into you. And by the way, when he's running into you and throwing you all around, he's having a conversation with Dana White, apparently.
Yeah, yeah. So,
do you hear what he said? He's like, "I'll fight anybody. Is Brock Lesnar next? I'll fight Brock Lesnar."
Yeah. I mean, I've heard Conor McGregor say that in his, high reign, like I'll fight it. But you know what? That's good, Conor. But you're 155 against, whatever.
Well, Hamzat's not going to fight Brock Lesnar either.
No. But I mean, I'd still I could. There's something about him that I could see him fighting fighters that are bigger than him.
I mean, he has this unique set of skills where I don't care if you're much bigger than him, Bruce. Like he still might manhandle you. Like he is truly something special.
He's a beast. He's a beast. I mean, he was having a heyday. Again, Ling Jingliang, one of the toughest cats I've ever seen in the welterweight division, literally being tossed around like a rag doll. That's all I can say.
He was forced to go on a humiliating ride, honestly.
Yeah,
because he's a great fighter.
I hate that word, but I understand what you mean by that.
Right.
But, yeah.
And he was humbled in a way where it's just like, dude, you have to be elite to throw someone around like that and then basically clown around while you're doing it. Like, I believe Li Jingliang was number 11 in the world coming into that fight, and he didn't look like he was on the same level as Hamzat, who was unranked. So it's like, I don't know where he goes from here, but Chimaev was able to capture the attention of the MMA world, a year ago, the first time on Fight Island, and he picked up right where he left off.
Well, Dana White said that he's 100% up for a possible Nate Diaz Chimaev fight.
Oh, that's a bad style fight for Nate.
Yeah, I love Nate, but that's a tough fight. Everybody
can go get paid, so I guess that's a great reason to go.
Show me the money. Show me Chimaev. Nate's gonna say, "Show me the money."
Yeah,
show him the money. He's there.
I don't like that fight for Nate, but I mean, I'd pay my money to see it.
I don't like that fight for Nate, but I love watching Nate fight.
100%. Yeah.
All right. So let's go on to 268. Okay. I wanted to get better for this show because right now, the Octagon, which is the ultimate proving ground for fighters in the world, it's the ultimate proving ground for me as an announcer and a performer in my life, because I got to go back in there Saturday night and prove to the world that I'm still deserve my job after COVID. And you know how I am every night. I'm always that way.
For the record, you're the only one that is, at all questioning that. But it's something that you got to prove to yourself, and that's really who we have to prove anything to is ourselves at the end of the day. And bottom line is, the world's most famous arena deserves, in my eyes, the world's most famous announcer.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Can't wait to see you do it. I'll be there. I don't know if I'll
be
in the building.
Excited about it too.
Night.
Are you going to be in the arena?
I don't think so. There were some issues with our setup, so I think we're going to be somewhere else, but we'll be around, taking in as much of the festivities as possible. And, if I see you, I'll go, "Hi, Bruce, I know you." And
good.
You'll just go, "Uh-huh, great."
Yeah. Sounds good.
Sure.
Come over to my house and we'll talk.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, what I'm going to do, by the way, I've got King and Bays ready. We're going to do a little fashion fun on Saturday.
Nice.
Little new outfit for the show, which
we got 2 jackets or what?
I plan on doing a duo.
All right.
We'll see how that works out.
I like it.
Yep. I mean, this main event card deserves it. Going into this main event card, I can't wait to roar for this whole thing. There's 14 fights right now. I hope none of them fall off. That's a long night. That's a long night for John Anik and Rogan.
Oh yeah.
Whoever's commentating, DC, whoever's
probably
working.
DC. Yeah.
That's a long night for me. But I'm not complaining. I'm just saying 14 fights is 14 fights. Granted, not like John and Joe who got to talk consistently for the 7 or 8 hour long show this is going to
Right.
be.
I mean, everybody's bringing the lunch pail that night, though.
Oh, yeah. I'll have some food on the table. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Definitely
Gotcha.
some honey. But anyway, enough about me. It's all about the fighters and it's all about the entertainment for the fans. So let's talk about this. The main event, I am so excited for because I think when they fought before, it was one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. Colby suffering a broken jaw. Kamaru is an absolute beast.
Mm-hmm.
Colby is an absolute cardio beast and high level, high level. These are two of the highest level mixed martial artists on the planet. That welterweight fight, whatever, if the dislike between them or from Colby to Kamaru is for real, or if it's, wrestling showboating, whatever it is, the bottom line is I'm always about see on the field superstar. Once they get in that octagon, I don't care what's been said before. We're going to see one hell of a fight.
And I think both of them know that as well. For me, Colby Covington, his shtick, it's Henry Cejudo-esque, and it works for him, and it makes him money. That's fine. The thing about Kamaru, though, is every single time that he's won in his last few title defenses, and when he captured the belt, he has demanded that people respect him, and he feels like he's a bit disrespected. I don't know where that comes from. He's the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world right now, according to the rankings. I think that might be something that he builds up in his head. But one thing I do know is you may argue that Colby Covington is a bit disrespected when you look at the fact that he's not on the pound-for-pound list. He's only lost twice in his career, once to Kamaru Usman, who's number one pound-for-pound.
He's not fighting for the championship, and he's not on the pound-for-pound list?
Well, the divisional rankings he is. He's the number one contender at 170. Yeah. But pound-for-pound, he's not on that list.
Yeah.
I think
you can only have 10 people, right?
No, there's like 15.
Oh, there is? Okay.
And I think he belongs on it. But the bottom line is he's going to force his way on it if he can beat Kamaru Usman. And like you said, that first fight was incredibly competitive and a fun fight. Unfortunately for Colby, he did break his jaw. But we'll see what happens. I think Usman is the deserved favorite coming into this fight. But Colby Covington is a difficult challenge for anybody, and one that we've seen can go toe-to-toe with Kamaru, so it'll be fun.
It's anybody's fight. The edge to, according to the bookmakers, I'm sure is going to Kamaru. So.
Yeah, he's I think 3-1 favorite, but again,
3-1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't bet fights, but I'll tell you right now, as an underdog bet, 3-1. That's a decent play on Colby.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hate it, but we'll see what happens.
That's interesting. I think the over-under round bet is the one to look at. I don't know. I have any idea what that is. But
yeah, I don't know what it is either. I know that Usman is the fight. Like when you look at all the props, the fight that is most likely to end up as a Kamaru Usman decision. But I'm sure that it's probably over 4.5, and it's probably around even money to go over 4.5.
Well, best wishes to both these warriors. I'll be in there giving them the equal opportunity announcement they want to give, and that's right after the strawweight title bout before, which I'm so excited about.
Can you believe this, though? I mean, this fight is almost even between Rose Namajunas and Zhang Weili, Bruce, but Zhang Weili, who got knocked out in 1 minute and 18 seconds in the last meeting, is a slight favorite over Rose. Like, I don't know.
Refresh me. This is the second time, right?
This is it's an immediate rematch. They both fought each other last go around, and the first meeting.
I'm still a little foggy at times.
It's all right.
But I remember that knockout. I mean, I just played that whole vision in my head.
Yeah.
And she's favored.
Yeah, but slightly. It's like minus 115 to minus 105.
Okay. That's relatively even.
But still, though, it's odd to me. I mean, when's the last time you saw someone get knocked out in a fight? They run it back and they're an immediate favorite. I mean,
it doesn't make sense to me.
That didn't even happen in Andre Arlovsky and Tim Sylvia. That didn't even. No, I take that back. It did sort of happen with Matt Serra and George St. Pierre. GSP was a pretty big favorite in their rematch.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, no offense to GSP and Serra. I mean, this wasn't lightning in a bottle that Rose knocked out Zhang Weili.
No. Totally.
This was her catching her, and she's can do it again. Not too many people are going to say that Matt Serra could have done that again to GSP. We'll see what happens. It's just curious to me that the champion is not getting that respect at the books.
Yeah, well, you know what? I spent after that fight with George, Matt and I hung out after that fight, and he was still like, "I did that," I mean, he was so excited. He's so much fun. He's such a great guy. But that night, it's like, even he was like, "Holy hell," So
Right. I mean,
which
again,
why not? It should be.
I just never thought that Matt Serra would knock out George St. Pierre in the
Nobody
fashion
thought
that
that.
he did. Yeah.
Nobody thought that. But that's because,
armbar, maybe.
That's because Matt had a
Bottle of whiskey.
Bottle of whiskey after. No, we definitely had drinks after, but puncher's chance is what it's all about. One punch can
100%.
change your life.
It's true.
That's the name of the game, Rose. The name of the game, Matt. And we'll see what happens on Saturday night going into that other bout, the lightweight bout before the co-main event with Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje. Tell me you're not excited about that fight.
Yeah, I'd be lying to you if I said that, because that would be a straight up lie.
And Michael was so honest in his interviews and everything. I mean, he even says it. Gaethje's a scary beast, and however words that he put it,
Right. And Justin feels the same way about Michael Chandler, even if he's not articulating it. Like this fight very well could be a number one contender type of fight. I think if Gaethje wins, it's going to be hard not to put him in, another fight with Dustin Poirier. If Poirier was to get past Charles Oliveira, he's never fought Charles Oliveira. So if Oliveira retains his title against Poirier coming up here in December, that fight makes a lot of sense. It's going to be harder for Chandler to get another go around with Oliveira if he beats Gaethje and Do Bronx beats Dustin Poirier. But, I think the winner of this fight is going to walk away looking, pretty good in the upper echelon of those rankings at 155.
No question. A couple other fights before we go into the news. Frankie Edgar back for the 45th time in 2 years.
Right. Yeah.
Love watching Frankie fight. One of my favorite fighters and people of as we talk about people I've met and worked with and created friendships with. Yep. And Frankie's a friend, great family, the whole bit. Marlon Vera, tough fight. Can't wait to see that. Bobby Green's back. Ally Quinta.
Yeah, that's a great fight. Great fight. To me, that's my pick for fight of the night. Honors. We'll see if those two men can deliver. I know on paper they're bangers and they don't go away easily. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a gritty fight and one that's on the prelims. So you don't even have to pay for that one necessarily as long as you got your ESPN Plus subscription. It's going to be one to make sure you're there early for.
14 fights, 9 fights on the prelims, 5 on the main card. A lot of East Coast fighters here, obviously benefiting New York, and I'm sure ticket sales has got to be sold out or to whatever. I'm not quite sure. Gian Vellante's back.
Yep.
It's a hell
He's
of a
taking
night.
on Chris Barnett, and I've called some of Chris Barnett's fights prior to getting to the UFC. He's kind of like a little bit of Roy Nelson about him. He's a bigger man, but super athletic. He's got some tricks up his sleeve that if you kind of write him off as a fighter that can't do certain things, he might come up the side of your head with a head kick or do some sort of crazy rolling knee bar. Like he's got some skills. So that's another fight for free that you should definitely make sure you're in front of the television or in the building early for.
I'll say it the same thing I say every time there's a great night of fights, which seems like every night recently has been a great night of fights without marquee names. But if you're a UFC fan, you know what's happening on Saturday. It's UFC 268. Unless you're getting married or your mom's birthday party or whatever, honestly, I don't see where you should be in front of the TV watching this.
And people are going to start getting married on Wednesdays now because the UFC keeps bringing it every Saturday night.
Oh, there you go. Then I won't miss any more weddings.
There you go. See, it works out for everybody.
Yeah, I already missed. Tarek and Heather got married.
Yeah, I heard, and I know you were looking forward to doing whatever you could to be there for him.
Well, I provided them with a video and an audio. They said went over great, and I had already rehashed that weekend.
That's the thing. You were supposed to be at a different wedding. I got the two crossed there. Yeah. Because you're supposed to get on the private plane.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of money cuts a lot of family ties. You got to really weigh what you're supposed to do. And I had to be at the Raider game, and I could not have made the Raider game if I was at the wedding in Santa Barbara. It would have been a real hassle for me to get there. But as it stands out, we all know where I was.
Yeah. Hopefully, that's a distant memory. Pretty quick.
It's all good. Okay, let's go over a couple things in the news here. Body armor. Looking forward to this for punchers or It's Time energy drinks or whatever's happening. But Body Armor, Coca-Cola just announced Monday that it bought full control of the sports drink startup.
Yeah,
Body Armor.
Have you tried Body Armor? It's okay if you haven't. Don't lie. Yeah, I mean, I know that's
the water. Isn't that the water the UFC had around for a while?
Yeah. So they're
no, I have tried
UFC.
it. Yeah, I tried their sports drink.
So if people haven't tried it, it's basically Gatorade, but the base of the drink is coconut water, which is really the sort of preferable liquid you want to sort of hydrate yourself. The coconut water, I mean, there are different grades and values of coconut water. You can get pretty crappy coconut water. But I will say, if you are truly dehydrated and you grab a Body Armor, it will work some wonders for you. I'm not saying that it's better or worse than Gatorade or anything like that, but I will say that you will be pleasantly surprised. It's not just a hokey, gimmicky sort of drink out there, Buff.
I've used it. I mean, Body Armor's been nice enough to send me cases of the water and cases of the sports drink. I a little foggy. I drew a blank there for a second, but I have used it after workouts, and I enjoyed the taste.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to sort of classify it because it is one drink. There's not a water version and a Gatorade version, but it kind of tastes like coconut water because that's what it is. It's got a flavor to it, whether it's fruit punch or whatever. But like that's what I like about it, Bruce. It's flavorful, but it's not something where it's like you're going to get jittery afterwards because you just drank so much sugar. You know what I mean? The sugar that is in it is pretty natural. It's solid.
It's like, my It's Time energy drink. I mean, the last thing I was going to do was have sugar in that drink. It's just so real and so natural for you. But anyway, getting back to the Body Armor, they sold this to Coca-Cola for $5.6 billion.
All right. So It's Time Energy should be on the shelves under the Coca-Cola brand name for just a little over $6 billion is what you're saying.
Give me 5 years or less. And we'll make an announcement on It's Time Radio. Good for them. I got to check with my contacts because they've sent me cases of this. I wonder if I could still get cases from you. Thank you. I hope, because I do like the water and I did like the sports drinks.
Well, I think we just cut a pretty nice promo for them here. Maybe we can get them to sponsor us.
Maybe so. Well, good luck to them though. Hey, enjoy that $5.6 billion. Wow. It even beats the UFC sale price. That's very, very cool. Very cool. Speaking about fluids, this is an interesting thing. There was these thieves. I've never heard anything like this. Okay.
You're scaring me right now. We're talking about fluids and thieves. All right. Where's this going?
They went into a restaurant called Atrio Restaurant, and it's in Caceres, Spain. Okay.
All right.
It's a very famous place that's known for its top-notch wine selection that they keep in the thing in the wine cellar rather. So they checked in at some point last week and they decided to dine at the eatery that's attached to the hotel where they're at. And at one point, they asked the front desk clerk to serve them more food. The desk clerk ran back to the kitchen, leaving the security cameras unmonitored. And what they did during that time period, they went down to the cellar and they smuggled out 7 bottles of wine, including an 1806 Chateau de Yquem, which you'd have to be a real wine connoisseur to know what that is. It's a dessert wine from the Sauternes district of Bordeaux, where they make Bordeaux wine. They checked out Wednesday. They paid with their credit card. The 7 bottles they made it off with, which included this 215-year-old bottle, are valued at $407,000.
Oh my God.
$407,000. Okay. Wait, the one bottle is valued at $407,000. Okay. They got away with 6 other bottles from the 19th century that are worth a pretty penny too. But that one bottle is valued at $407,000. Question. It's like a piece of art. Where do they sell this? Because you can't buy it on the public market. I doubt there's very many of these bottles. And if it gets sold, so there's probably private people out there they have access to, or they're just going to go home and, order some burgers and have some wine. Who knows?
Hopefully they didn't drop it.
It's incredible. That's a different story. That takes balls. Think about it, that you're going to get away with that. Much less you left your credit card. People know who you are. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that it's not their credit card, right?
I don't know. There's no other news to be able to say that.
I don't know.
By the way, Colby says that Trump's going to be at the fight. And, Trump went to the World Series saying the MLB, Major League Baseball, invited him. Major League Baseball denied the fact that they invited Trump to attend the game.
All right.
It's scuttlebutt. Who knows? We know he's definitely invited to the UFC, of course. So it's right in his area. And, he's a friend of Colby's, and he'll be there to support Colby. I assume that's going to be the case.
It's not like it would be the first time that he would come out. So it's definitely possible.
Speaking of coming out in a different way, right? White Castle's in the news because they now, instead of humans making their French fries, they're putting in robots. to make the French fries.
What do you mean? Like in the restaurant they're making
The restaurant, the fries need to be in oil for the right amount of time.
Okay, so they got like an assembly line essentially.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
it's
but
automated.
Employees in fast food restaurants are subject to distractions all the time in the kitchen, hot and noisy, things get hectic.
Yeah, that's
get caught up. They got to make sure
never right.
Yeah, they want to make sure they deliver the fries that aren't too crisp or soggy and just perfect with the right amount of oil. So they're developed a robot.
I hate to say this, Bruce. I appreciate that attention to detail, but White Castle's French fries are frozen.
They plan to roll it out in 10 of their 360 restaurants to see how it works out.
But they're frozen. Like, start cutting them fresh and then use
I guess you got to add oil, certain amount of time. They have their reasoning, whatever.
It's not really a high advanced system here. It's a basket that probably gets lowered by a chain, and then a timer goes off, and it goes beep, beep, and it picks it back up. Like, that's great and all, but, like, let's start with non-frozen French fries before we get too excited about robots in the kitchen.
I am not a fan of White Castle. Okay. I love slider burger.
Now. It's what you crave.
I know the meat is not to my liking. I love sliders, but I like good quality meat in the sliders. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say that they don't eat quality meat.
It's okay. I just don't listen to you about fast food. You don't even know how to say Chick-fil-A.
I'm not a fast food guy.
I know. I remember when you tried to read a story about Chick-fil-A on the show. You're like, you ever heard of Chick-fil-A?
Yeah,
no,
Chick-fil-A.
I've never heard of Chick-fil-A, Buff.
Chick-fil-A, I know. Well, that just goes to show you how I eat. Take care of myself. But you know what? Another thing associated with White Castle is, Kai Penn from the White Castle movies.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Cal Penn. Yeah.
Cal Penn. Right. Always a lady charger, always about, men and the girls and the guys getting together, everything. He just came out that he's gay with his husband to be, and good for him. I love when people do that. I love when they can live their lives. So good for him. But there's an example of an actor, right? And he's so funny in his movies. It's hilarious. But
yeah.
A little bit of People magazine trivia there. Just happened to come.
By the way, I love Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
I love Harold and Kumar, and I love the second Harold and Kumar. I love the Harold and Kumar Christmas. Yeah,
with the they're funny.
They're funny. They're funny movies. He's hilarious, as is the other fellow. Okay, the Las Vegas Raiders receiver Henry Ruggs. He's being charged with a DUI after the crash left one dead.
Oh,
you heard about that?
I did not.
Yeah, he's facing 20 years in prison. 20 years in prison. Yep. The crash was early Tuesday around 3:39 a.m. in the morning. There's no reports on any, if he had alcohol or whatever in his system, but he's definitely being charged. And that's horrible.
Yeah.
What can you say?
Tough.
It's tough. It's tough. I'm not talking about the Raiders and they're playing. It's just,
this
is an example, folks, drinking and driving. If that was the case, he is being charged with the DUI. That's why they made Uber, folks. That's why they made Friends. That's why they made whatever. Your life can change in a fraction of a second.
Yeah. And in hindsight, it's always worth just downloading an app and paying $30-$40 to get a ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just to be safe. It's like COVID. It's not about you. It's about the people around you at the same time. If that was a proper comparison.
No, 100%. It's because it's very much a selfish thing to drink and drive. You're not doing the literally you have to do less to be safe. You just press a couple buttons on your phone. You sit and wait. Guy picks you up. You convince him, to give him a few bucks to stop at White Castle so you can get some sliders on your way home and have warm burgers in your belly. And then you go inside and it's all done. Figure out how to get your car tomorrow.
That's all in a nutshell. Courtesy of TJ DeSantis. Bravo.
I don't even drink.
Bravo. What did you do with my puncher's chance? Just keep it on the shelf?
No, I told you. I've tried to bring it to Mexico for
that's
Roy
right.
Jones Jr.
Yeah,
they stole it from me.
Yeah, darn it. Okay. Bravo, the network announced, I'm not a watcher of this thing, but the Real Housewives shows, now it's going to be the Real Housewives of Dubai. If that is not going to beat out the Orange County, Beverly Hills, money spending wives or whatever they do, the Real House, that's going to be pretty elaborate.
Yeah, there's going to be a different plot twist on that one.
A different plot twist. Barry Bonds' 500-round home run ball finally was sold at auction. What
How
do you
much?
think it sold for? $300,000.
I was going to say right around that.
And another, I don't know if it's the same card that sold before, but the most famous baseball card of all time, Honus Wagner's T206 card, which, before I say the price, the thing about this card is Honus Wagner was against smoking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they used to put these T206 cards in packs of cigarettes, but he wouldn't allow that to happen, if I have the story correct. That just sold for an incredible $1.1 million.
Wow.
Yep. 1.1 million. It's a restored card too. I don't know what.
So
there's
been like alterations to it to make it pop then, right?
Well, when it's
fixed
restored,
it.
it's fixed, whatever, maybe it was whatever, but it is restored, whatever restored means.
I see. I find that to be unbelievable. That something that has been modified in some way can go for over 7 figures. That's crazy.
As a collector, I agree with you. I've told you before that, in gun collecting, like a German Luger, if there's a mismatched part of the 13 parts that need to be matched within the gun, or if there's
it's defective essentially.
It can go from 5,000 to 500 overnight.
Yeah, as it should, because it's not whole.
Right.
All right, to each their own, I guess. I guess that's the rarity of this card, restored or otherwise,
Yeah, supply and demand. One other cool thing I found, this is the last story for the show right now, but I remember one year when I had, like one of my best or my biggest year, in the past, I bought my whole family Rolex watches for Christmas, including Kristen.
Wow.
And that was my front line, my offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Keanu Reeves, obviously making John Wick, his offensive line of the stuntmen he works with.
Right.
So he went out and he bought the stuntman. He dished out 4 brand new 2020 Submariner watches to 4 guys in Paris who went to the mat for him on the film. And he gave.
See, I love it. I love it because that's taking care of your team.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about. Because it's there's that old saying, like, either you're going to step on someone or someone's going to boost you up. It's impossible to get anywhere in life without stepping on someone or someone helping you up along the way. And the ones that help you, do right by them.
Exactly. So, kudos to you, Keanu. I know you're getting paid probably 20, 30 million for the movie.
Right.
$40,000 in watches is still a lot of money, but it's the thought that counts, as they say. Speaking of the thought that counts, I want to say happy birthday to the legendary greatest announcer of all time, my brother, Michael Buffer, who today turned 77 years old.
I was going to say your birthday's in May, and I don't know why you're talking to yourself, but Michael's pretty good too.
The most legendary greatest announcer of all time, Michael Buffer. I have to say.
He looks good
Michael's
in silver.
Like
you look good in gold.
Michael's like a fine bottle of Bordeaux. I am like a shot of puncher's chance. Okay.
You're more than a puncher's chance. You're a knockout, guaranteed.
Thanks, TJ. Okay. Well, you're still my producer.
That's why I'm paid to say that. So
there you go. All right. So that's it for our show today. We'll be back next week. And we'll have a nice guest on, a good solid guest on next week. But I enjoy having a show with you, TJ, once in a while. We can jog back and forth. Let me see. Is there anything else to cover? While I'm thinking, why don't you tell us anything you want to tell us?
Yeah, I don't think there's too much. I'm going to be broadcasting live from the Ainsley, Chelsea location in Manhattan on Thursday. If you want to come and hang out with myself and Pearl Gonzalez, we're going to be doing extra rounds. I think we might be in the same spot on Saturday night immediately following the UFC 268 card. Again, it's called the Ainsworth, Chelsea location, somewhere in Manhattan. Come hang out for extra rounds.
Very cool. Very cool. I'll probably be finishing the show. Like that show's going to start at 6. I would predict before 2. It's going to go on like 2 in the morning.
It's going to be a long night. Yeah.
Be a long night. And then I got to catch a 9 o'clock plane. So I'll probably just be up all night, get back home.
You get an extra hour that night. We fall back. So I don't know if that's better or worse.
Well, I thank God for the iPhone that automatically does that, because otherwise I'd probably be at the airport an hour early. So thank you, iPhone, for your automatic updates. I appreciate them very, very much.
Be careful trying to get out of New York, though. It's the New York Marathon is on Sunday, so they close down a bunch of streets.
Well, I got to get to the airport by 7 in the morning. So
they'll be shut down before 7 a.m. Just letting you know. You'll have a driver, Bruce. It'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll take care of me. Okay. All right. It's time. Energy drinks are proven to be a very big success in the UK, where we started an exclusive distribution on Amazon in the UK and at itstimeenergy.com. Check out itstimeenergy.com, folks, because we are going to be here in America on Amazon next month. And then we'll be hitting all the stores.
Just waiting for my lime flavor.
We're working on 2 new flavors.
I got a perfect name for it.
It's lime.
It's lime, of course.
It's lime. Yeah. Sounds good. As a matter of fact, they mocked up a can for their Instagram post, said it's Friday, meaning, time for Friday. It looked pretty cool. You'd have to see it to appreciate what I'm saying.
I want it to taste like lime.
I know you do. You keep putting in your 2 cents. I'll do what I can,
Yeah, I mean, that's all I'm good for is about 2 cents.
Yeah, okay. Well, speaking of 2 cents, I'm going to give you my 2 cents. Have a great weekend. I'll see you in New York, hopefully.
We're staying at the same hotel, so I'm sure I'll run into you at some point.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, everybody. Set your goals, write them down, learn about them, be the best you can be when you step on that path, when you start your journey. Because by being the best you can be and performing at your best, whether you're first, second, champion or not, then you're winning because you're being the best you can be. Take pride in yourself, be a role model to your sphere of influence, be honest, be strong, and treat everybody with respect. With that being said, have a great week. Buffer out. Please stay safe. That's all I can say. Stay safe, but live and love life. Cheers, everybody.
Hi, everybody. I've had an absolute blast recording your championship intros on audio and also on video. And for those of you that didn't know, the videos can be done special exactly the way you like them because these are green screens and we can do them with a scene behind me. Do you want a fighting scene? Do you want a beach scene? Do you want a race car scene? Any scene you want, we can give it to you. It's your theme and my pleasure. Just write our offices and we will answer you with the exact fee involved and how it'll get done. So here we are, and now it's time, and it's your choice. Cheers!